Hey everybody, I'm Dane Holland, and I'm drinking what would be the whisper of fruit in a carbonated soda in a Pamplemousse LaCroix, or LaCroix, as I like to call them.
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer, and I'm drinking mead, as you should be.
Me?
Mead.
No, as I should be? Because I'm enjoying what I have now. I don't want...
Honey wine.
Okay.
Everyone should enjoy sweet honey wine.
Okay.
I'm the Mad King,
Why is everybody whispering but me?
Marcus Whitaker. I am Electric Man.
I'm Austin Tiny Cent.
Why?
And I'm going to give you a golden shower of information.
Beans. I didn't get the memo that we were all whispering our intros.
It's interesting that you didn't get that memo, Dane.
We're not doing the ASMR episode. I'm not letting it happen right now. You can hear me at full volume. And this is Nerd It Through the Grapevine, a podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture.
Today's topic is the history of ASMR.
I've been defeated.
Wonderful.
The one thing you could have done
we're back.
to beat me. The one thing you could have done to beat me. That's why you kept it a secret.
I did. I had to.
All right.
The history of ASMR, which is the autonomous sensory meridian response. It's an electrical signal that tingles from the scalp down the neck into the upper spine. It also is from the same part of the brain that orgasms come from.
Oh.
It is, and that's literally what it is, a super mild, euphoric feeling caused by a bodily sensation. And it's kind of funny. I've been joking about the ASMR thing for a long time, but
Have you? I didn't notice.
Yeah, shut your
Anyone
mouth.
else? Anyone
Shut
else in this room?
Breathe through your nose.
No, shock him out.
It turns out it actually came from a forum in a medical chat room.
Somebody was like, hey, I get this funny feeling whenever I hear these things. And they were like, hey, let's look into that.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Literally
Oh.
exactly what happened.
I did it.
And it started
Damn, I'm smart.
Started on a discussion forum from Steady Health.
Steady health.
Steady Health.
Okay.
And that was in 2007. I was like, there's got to be more to this that I can find. And yes, there was a mentioning of this in a medical profession. And actually 1925 from an author named Virginia Woolf.
I've heard of this Virginia Woolf.
In Mrs. Dalloway.
I thought you were going to say Doubtfire. I was like, trying to remember that movie. When was the ASMR orgasm?
Of a Venus, but imagine my surprise.
What?
Huh? Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay.
Dude looks like a lady.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah, that's the one.
How dare you?
I thought he was having his leisure.
Yeah, I did too.
In the book by Virginia Woolf, the nursemaid speaks to a patient, and this is in the quotations, and this is the way it's meant to be presented.
Please.
Deeply, softly, like a mellow organ, but with a roughness in her voice, like a grasshopper's, which rasped his spine deliciously and sent running up into his brain waves of sound.
I think you just did it.
Yeah, I gotta go. But they didn't have the magic of your mustache into the microphone as well.
Oh, yeah.
So that
I can't-
really adds to it. That's really good.
I can't help it. It is what it is.
Now, is this something that's like most people are like have this happen to them without them knowing it?
Yep. I actually had in my notes to explain to you. Let's see.
I figured you did. That's why I asked.
Said, little did you know, Dane, we experienced an ASMR response watching Wonder Woman 84.
Without spoiling the movie. When?
Running, jumping.
Oh, yeah. That part.
Running and jumping?
On the street.
I don't remember what you're talking about. Did I have a moment of, oh man, that's awesome?
No, yeah, it's the Goosies.
The Goosebumps?
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
Goosebumps is just ASMR?
Whenever it's caused from a visual stimuli mixed with audios, like
Okay.
the list that it can consist of
Yeah.
is listening to a softly spoken, whispering voice, listening to quiet, repetitive sounds resulting from someone engaging in a mundane task, such as turning pages in a book, watching somebody attentively execute a mundane task, such as preparing food, loudly chewing, crunching, slurping, or biting foods, drinks, or gum.
That one just makes me want to fight.
That one is...
I don't know about that.
That's not my type of ASMR.
No, I want to fight somebody.
No kink shaming in it. But as far as it goes with me, if you're chewing gum or food next to me,
it's almost like nails on a chalkboard, though. Like, is that the same kind of response? Like that kind of almost like it can be a good response, but can it also be like a, oh my God, I got to get out of here response?
is there anybody who has a good response to nails on a chalkboard?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's almost the same feeling you get. I mean, because you have kind of one of those when you pee too. You know, sometimes if you pee, you'll get like goosebumps.
One of the other typical ASMR responses comes to listening to tapping, typically nails onto surfaces such as plastic, wood, paper, or metal.
I've seen some things like this.
Yeah, for me, if people take their, like the felt that like lines the inside of a roof of your car.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody takes their fingernails and scratches it, I will like lose it. I will have like a weird response.
No, my brother is the same way, and he wants to get out of the car.
Yeah.
And I never knew like that was a thing with other people either. I thought that was just one of his weird things. So,
But yeah, and one of the ones that I think make a lot of podcasts pretty wonderful to listen to is whenever they have good audio quality. And when you have that good audio quality, it is pleasing to the ears. There is literally something that is pleasing to the ears to be able to sit through and, allow your brain to experience these emotions. And I'm not saying that you're going to be listening to somebody's podcast unless it's actually intended to do that to you. If you ever have that response to this podcast and you do not tell us somewhere, I'm going to be upset.
I'm calling the police.
I need to know. I want to know. Did I bling you pleasure?
See, you accidentally said bling.
Yeah, and it found its own voice
with a weird accent. You did really well.
I'm pretty good at that.
So does that lady's book have anything to say about like why we have those types of responses?
Yes, it has to do with the note page that I have closed.
Perfect. Find it.
Search deep within your pages.
Term from subjective experience from specific sounds and frequencies and visual stimuli that create a low-grade euphoria.
Low grade, yeah. Like just a sneaky... Actually, I think one of those for me is in movies where they cut the music and you just hear what's happening in the scene without any music whatsoever. And usually there's not a lot of other sound beyond it. An example would be in one of the episodes from Mandalorian in season 2, where he pulls a maneuver where he like cuts the engine and turns around, does a 180, and then puts on the engines again and flies forward. And they cut the music completely whenever this happens. So you just hear the sound of an engine and then it cut off and just wind, like a soft wind. But there's this epic thing going on with this like super heavy, loud machine, but it's making no sound whatsoever. And then he cuts the engines back on and then flies forward. And it's just like, I don't know, goosebumps completely.
Yep.
And even if I weren't watching it, like I still think like hearing all those sounds and then all of a sudden only hearing a few of them very softly, I think that is a perfect example.
Because that was right in tune with what that frequency is that it takes to achieve that for you. Mm-hmm. And that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And it exists.
I guess I just always understood get chill bumps when it comes to not like you're cold or something. Like it's actually something that stimulated you to have that response. I mean, because animals have it too. Like when cats get really puffy. Yeah, it's like a defense mechanism kind of. It's like to look bigger than you are because we don't have hair anymore. But our ancestors had a lot more hair than we did, and it would maybe stand up.
Have you seen that man's father shirtless?
I was about to defend my father. He is. Some primates look at him and think, "Who is he trying to be?"
Yeah, I thought I was a hairy man until I seen his dad shirtless. Now I have goals.
It makes so much more sense now. Like when I said that, both of y'all looked offended.
Yeah.
Like, what is he saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying the most controversial thing, and it
Well-
kind of took me aback for a second. Like, what did I just say?
Well, next time you're around my father, I'll instruct him to show you his back.
No. I want
All you
Marcus
have
just to
to
look
see
at
is
him and
his
say,
shoulder.
I want Marcus just to look at him and go, hey, take your shirt
Show
off.
me your back, you hairy man.
He would be upset.
I'm doing a paper on why primates have this type of response to
the hair,
certain visual stimuli.
the light touch of the back of the neck that causes the electricity to just go everywhere. You know that one. That's actually in primates as well. They use that during grooming processes. It's also shown to de-stress them from whatever they've
That's
got
like
going
softly touching like the underside of your arm. Like you just sit there and just barely touch it. And then sometimes you notice you're doing it and you look around and you're like, has anybody noticed me like pleasuring pleasuring my own arm here with this low grade stimuli? But we all do it.
Everybody
right?
does.
Everybody? Guys?
Some people have
Okay.
it worse than other.
Oh, yeah. No.
I've been watching ASMR videos for a long time, and one of my favorite YouTubers was My Cherry Crush. She has kind of like elfin features, really pretty gal, and she's very good at what she does. And then in a meme group, I'm scrolling through one day, and it had her picture, and it said, "If you know who this is, then we can be friends, and because you're weird like me." And I'm like, ASMR's not weird. What are you talking about? So I went back to her videos to see if she's doing some weird stuff. And it's still all ASMR, and I'm like, I don't get it. But then I noticed in the bottom of the video, in like the lower third, she has a watermark for a website.
Oh, no.
And it's just her own website under her own name.
Don't click on it, Tiny.
I went to it.
Of course.
Because if anybody that knows me knows if I get curious, I'm not afraid to Google it.
You're like a puppy.
I will Google it and I will look through it and see what's there. Yes, she does make weird things.
Austin, you went with puppy when he said he's curious?
She has a video where she's a puppy. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, the phrase is curious like a cat.
That's why my friends call me Whiskers.
I feel like you watched it too.
But if the moon were made of cheese, would you eat it?
So ASMR, like that's something like
Yeah.
because I've heard about it for not a long time. I know, like you said, it's been a thing for forever, but it's not been recognized until like the late 2000s.
2007-ish.
Yeah.
They started talking about it in medical forums, and then they started doing research into it, and several different universities have actually had studies done to where they would have the different stimuli and different keys and different tones, different types to see what kind of reactions they can get from the human body. I mean, even negative before this was considered ASMR, you could have, sound warfare. Like they would use music to play on repeat constantly to get people to surrender, just to drive them insane.
Or the brown note. Make you dookie your pants. Give you that
In
one
theory.
note.
That's a
in
trope.
theory.
You
right?
know, honestly,
The brown note is a theory. It's a trope.
Yeah, but we're not going to change the subject.
Okay.
No, seriously though, I can tell you what'll give you the brown note real quick, and that is just drink you a can of kombucha.
No.
If you got to get it cleared out, you got to know why it's doing it.
It's fermented horse urine, and I'm not drinking it.
Well, better urine than mine.
Yeah, they can make sound weapons now. Like there's like these big things that they can project at crowds, and like everybody will just go prone. I mean, because it'll like have a physical effect on you. It's so loud.
So sound and light have noticeable, even minute effects, even at the smallest levels.
Cool.
Neat.
Is it related any at all to like binaural beats?
Yes.
Okay, I figured there had to been some kind of correlation between the two.
But yeah, that's it. I thought it was really cool. I've been kind of joking about it for a little bit. I mean, and I didn't even know that I was watching ASMR for a long time because I would watch these videos of these people out in the middle of the woods, like just cooking. And I was always just intrigued by these videos of these people just out chopping wood, like chopping their stuff up on wood. And you just hearing the click, clink, 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 clink of the steel blade against the wood. And I just thought it was a really pretty video. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's ASMR. That's why I like this so much, because this is relaxing and calming.
I mean, a lot of people have experienced it with Bob Ross because the soft way he speaks, plus the sound of his brush strokes, like on that, whenever he's tapping that, like his brush onto the canvas, it's just that you can hear the bristles like touching.
I want to do that tonight.
So I'm a little confused though. If we have a couple more minutes to spend.
Oh
on
yeah,
it.
we do.
Because we kind of did establish earlier that there's two different. There's like a good and bad, right? Yes. Like response. So I don't know. I guess I'm just confused about that because
Well, what it's saying is
you also mentioned that it's like a euphoric, almost orgasmic type experience.
True.
So I don't know. It's
But
but
is
can it
a-
also be just more mild than that?
no, because it is a clause.
So not all these videos actually get you to that point.
No,
Okay.
it's just their intended.
Just different for different
their
people.
intended purpose, basically. A lot of
Yeah,
time.
you seek them
But-
out. Like,
Right.
yeah.
You're trying to get
what
that.
you would be speaking about in the case of whether it is good or whether it is bad has to deal with what the actual M in ASMR stands for, which is meridian, and that's going to be the peak or the climax or the point of the highest development. That could be in whatever response you would have from it.
Right. That's
So-
just to each their own.
Yep.
Okay. That clears it up for me.
Fascinating.
It is. It actually
Yeah.
really is.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm glad you
And
did
now-
too because he told us to play this joke on you. I actually had to look up what it is. So I'm glad you did that because I'm just now learning all this.
That's good. Tiny, how do you follow up the ASMR
I was trying to
segment
find a good way
that
to
we've been
segue.
building for 24 episodes?
Well,
When Rome wasn't built in a day.
it wasn't. Okay, so
No.
I'm gonna tell you about Plum Island and the Center for Animal Diseases.
Whoa.
Yeah. So let that tickle you.
Well,
So
it already
wait,
did. Because
Center for or center of?
Center for it's gone by a couple different names, but it's always animal diseases. It's it. I'm going to give you some mundane facts, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. It's an island off the coast of Long Island, New York. It's completely owned by the U.S. government and controlled by the Department for Homeland Security. It started as a military base in 1954, and the goal was to protect America's livestock from foreign diseases. During the Cold War, a secret program was there that performed biowarfare experiments targeting livestock. It's the only place in the country where hoof and mouth disease is permitted to be studied because it's 2 miles off the coast. It's fairly isolated. So if something happens, in theory, it doesn't make it to the mainland. The facility is a level 3 security clearance, although most activities there require a level 4 clearance, which is the highest, so top secret.
so you can be there as a level 3, but you can only access the facilities as a level 4.
Like a lot of the studies, you have to be
Okay.
level 4 clearance.
Yeah.
To get to the island, there's an intense search. You can't take anything from the island. And say if you work there and you take your lunch and you like, well, there's a half a sandwich, I'll eat it on the ferry ride home. You cannot take it back from the island. So there's that. Most of the facility directors, they had extensive backgrounds in military biowarfare and development. It's home to a number of active microbes, including West Nile virus, Rift Valley fever, African swine flu, hoof and mouth, mad cow disease, and anthrax. And then there's a whole bunch more in the fun portion. In 1991, Hurricane Bob disabled power to the island, allowing various diseases and viruses that had to be kept at sub-zero temperatures to actually thaw. And so that could possibly have led to some viral outbreaks that happened in the area.
Nice.
Imagine an invisible Jurassic Park.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's what we're looking at. It was denied for a long time that occurred. And then they come out years later and said, yeah, it happened. In the 60s, bioweapons containing Ebola were, in theory, developed and used against Cuba. So it's one reason why Cuba had such a problem with us during that time. Eric Traub, he was a Nazi that was recruited by the government and brought to work on Plum Island, and he was the man that actually created Lyme disease.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
Great.
The first case of Lyme disease was actually in Lyme, Connecticut, which was not very far from Long Island, happened shortly after he got there. So you can take that as you will. He was actually developing a tick bomb. because he was really good at infecting ticks
No.
with various diseases.
No.
Yeah.
A bomb that releases ticks that
Yes.
like poisons
That
everyone?
will bite you and give you whatever disease that he had chosen for it to be a carrier of.
That's got to be in the Geneva Convention somewhere, right?
Surely.
You would think.
When was this?
60s.
I hate that. I hate that.
No, my Audi is an innie now. I am inside myself. I'm so upset.
Blow me up before you do that.
Just
Yeah, we haven't even
imagine.
got to the real bad part,
Oh.
but
What?
that's the bad, most realistic.
Okay.
And it is a fact that he worked there.
Okay.
That's worse than the vomit-filled mask I found in the parking lot of Food Line yesterday. This gets worse.
Well, the Montauk Monster. I don't know if y'all know what that is.
You didn't have to bring up. I'm sorry, Tony. He
Oh,
didn't.
you're
He didn't
good, I
have.
understand.
He didn't have to bring up the vomit mask. He didn't have to.
It's one of the most disturbing
it
things I've seen
it
ever.
It costed him $0 to not say it.
I just want to
and
know
he did.
how much vom was in the mask.
The mask was folded up bowl style. It had a little puddle inside of it, and it looked like it was chili and barbecue.
Did it smell like chili and barbecue? That was a real gag. That's great.
This concludes the ASMR portion of the episode.
Did I just ASMR him?
I think you did.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Brought to you by Vomit Mask. Okay, the Montauk Monster was found in July of 2008 along one of the beaches there, roughly 3 miles from Plum Island. At first, it was officially claimed to be a sea turtle without the shell, but if you know anything about turtles, their
It's
spine
part of
and
their
everything
body.
is built into them.
Yeah.
That is their body. They're not just like...
Yeah. If
It's
you
an
Google the picture,
exoskeleton.
it's a very bizarre picture.
Oh, yeah.
Like it had a beak, claw-like fingers, a tail, fur. When's the last time you seen a furry turtle? I haven't.
Well, I mean,
We'll talk about that later.
yeah. Well, this will be in another podcast of ours where we'll talk about the furry
I wouldn't
turtle.
say
That
that
is
looks
going to
like
be
a
the
turtle.
name of our strip club.
Boots and boots and cats. And then they tried to say it was a diseased dog and then also a raccoon. But the thing was roughly 6 feet in length.
A 6-foot raccoon?
Yeah, and it looks nothing like a raccoon. Like it had a beak, it had claws, a weird squiggly tail. It was a very bizarre looking thing.
Is that from
You can find
photos
pictures.
or?
I've only been able to find a
drawings?
couple of pictures of it.
Uh-huh.
And it looks pretty realistic to me.
like Tonka and Rozar off of, or Razor, whatever his name was, off of
Kinda.
Ninja Turtles 2. You know, the kind of turtle.
Kind of, sort of, but it was 4-legged.
Oh,
I've seen all the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
I don't
dude.
know what you're talking about.
I'll show you all a picture later.
Thanks, bud. All you listeners at home, sorry.
look at that. The snapping turtle baby. They got infected with the ooze and became the giant turtle.
Yeah, the face does look really similar, except there's teeth in there.
I don't like that.
Oh,
Yeah. And then let me see, what was that?
turtle teeth.
The body did vanish after a couple of days there, and 2 weeks later, another one washed up a couple miles down the shore. So they found 2 of these things, and they look pretty much identical.
The last of their kind.
The odd thing was its death was caused by 5 symmetrical puncture wounds through the skull. So it wasn't something that naturally happened to kill it.
Huh.
Someone killed it and then
Yeah.
ditched it and washed up on the shore. Both of them, actually.
Or
Hear him out.
it was an alien life form trying to escape another alien life form, and they ended up on Earth, and this is where their life ended.
Maybe, but there's another theory that's a little farther down in my notes. Oddly enough, the Montauk Monster did look like one of my ex-girlfriends. Crazy thing. I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are.
If you're listening,
Furry Turtle.
Yes. That was her pet name. On January 14th, 2010 at 4:15 p.m. That was driven in there by this one. On the southwest end of the island, a private security guard, because apparently there was a private security company doing security for the island, was doing a patrol, and he found a mutated human body that was roughly 6'2" in height, had very long, elongated claw-like fingers. Like they were, he said, like 3 times the length of what fingers should be.
Spooky.
And there were claw-like ends.
I knew a guy like that once.
Did you?
I did, actually.
Whoa. And it had a large build, like it would have been a really big dude. And it was also killed by 5 puncture wounds through the skull.
Okay,
He
now
tur-
we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. He turned it in to the police to investigate because, legal things and there's a body. They took DNA and fingerprints and all these things, and they couldn't find any information about this body in any database. So, so the theory is that they're doing experiments to make animal-human hybrids, because that's kind of what this thing looked like, and kind of what the Montauk monster sort of looked like, because there's some humanoid-type features in places when you look at it. But they were killed by the same symmetrical 5 puncture wounds through the skull.
If you're telling me that the future of 2021 depends on us, the chosen 4, fighting against an army of animal-human hybrids, I'm so in.
I'm in. I'm there.
And I am in there like swimwear.
Our first stop would have to be Lowe's, because that's the best poke-apocalyptic weapon making facility.
Poke-apocalyptic sounds like a Pokemon.
Wow, I did say poke, didn't I?
Hey,
Smack
but
that
no,
mouth.
this makes sense though.
I
Because
don't like it. I don't like it.
no, poke-apocalyptic. I like this. Let's go somewhere with that, because human animal hybrids, if you've seen Pokemon over the last few generations, that's pretty much what they're going for.
Truth.
They're wanting to make you feel something when you look at them. Don't.
Yeah.
Marcus, don't.
I feel like they're trying to normalize it. So when they introduce them into society,
Exactly.
they want us to get to the point where we breed with them, they become normal, contributing members of society.
Yes.
And then they take us over from within.
Correct.
Or without, depending if they're male or female.
My little pony, my little pony.
Friendship is magic.
I mean, look at Mr. Mime. That's an animal human hybrid. I don't know what
can't see
animal
him.
other than a demon. Like,
I mean, they're demons in disguise, I'm pretty sure.
I know, but I'm just saying, you're poke-apocalyptic. Yes, while a mistake, not a mistake at all. I think you're on to more than what you
No.
thought.
How are you trapped in an invisible box, sir? I'm trying to help you, and somehow I can reach through, but you can't.
That just means you've got to go face these 2 trainers that are hiding out in this back room, and then once you beat them, then you'll move along a few spaces, and you got to do it all over again. But this time they're in the window.
He watched me play the other day, so he's just recapping what happened there.
Gotcha.
So there's an island, and scientists are making human animals.
Hybrids, yes.
Do you think
And
it's
diseases.
right? Do you think it's do you think it's like cloned DNA, like mixed DNA from nothing to creation of the beast, or do you think it's like already existing, like a human and an animal?
I think it's like gene splicing, because they're also they actually, you can actually see it. They're developing genetic things like to make cows more resistant to various bacteria and diseases and stuff. So they do a lot of good things.
And then they become
But
the
then
dominant
there's
race.
the dark part where like Lyme disease and tick bombs.
Tick
Yeah.
bomb.
Get it
hybrids.
away. Get it.
I mean, I have Lyme disease in my body still, because once you get it, it doesn't go away, and I've had it, and now it lies dormant, like a demon in your body that it can explode at any moment, and you can possibly get Bell's palsy from it.
I gotta get out of here.
I know,
I gotta leave. I gotta go. Again.
I know, and it's in me because of this Nazi that they recruited to work on this island.
So you're telling me that they actually could have made a furry turtle man superhero on this island?
Absolutely.
Because I don't know.
If
just
it would
seems like
fight for good, do you think it would fight for good?
I don't know. I don't know.
It depends how you raise it. I feel like.
Well, it's nurture or nature, man. I mean, the nature of something like this, I don't know if there's going to be much good there. Because if I were created this way, I think I would spend the eternity.
it's not a penis. It's
He had to say that for me to even look at his phone.
Yeah.
yeah. That's the Montauk monster. The one that's washed up on the beach, not
That is a freaky
not
looking
the
thing.
not the
Right,
weird
well,
body
the
found on the
human
island.
hybrid thing. Well, that's what I was saying. This all sounds a lot like kind of like an Area 51 type kind of conspiracy theory. So,
Yeah.
but you're telling me some of this is like actually like confirmed.
Yeah. I'm like, see, look at the face on that boy.
That is freaky. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I'm not a fan of that. That had a beak.
If that was near me,
And
I wouldn't
teeth
be a
in
happy
said
person.
beak.
I would have one of the negative responses.
Yeah. See, like if you were created like this, you would spend the rest of eternity trying to eliminate those that did it to you, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't want someone else to go through
Yeah.
it.
I'm not going to be a furry turtle superhero. I'm going to be a furry turtle.
But what
Even
if they
though-
Super
managed to
villain.
give you like a benefit, like wings that would allow you to fly, not opposable thumbs. That's what I was about to say. And I'm like, wait, I've got that.
What if they
Like-
gave you
Only they could do
A secondary opposable thumb, a giant wang, something that would actually benefit you and the rest of society.
You already said you would
I'd be
get those
okay
to
with
fly
it.
with.
No,
I was,
not wings.
I was thinking, what if you could choose your animal to be the hybrid of? Like, what would you think you'd choose on that?
If I were a hybrid with an animal,
Yeah.
oh man.
I mean, do mythical creatures count?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go with the classic Minotaur.
I was going dragon.
Dragon.
I mean, how would you hybridize a dragon? It's just a giant lizard.
Falcon.
I mean, they've done it.
I mean, no judgment,
done it.
but I mean, I was just curious.
No, I mean, it's an established thing. Like Dragonborn.
Well, yeah, okay, I'm
Yeah.
tracking now.
Falcon.
Yeah.
No, I'd go Falcon.
Falcon?
Falcon.
Falcons are pretty cool.
I'd go Falcon. It'd make me a little bit smaller, lighter, quicker, stronger.
Hollow bones.
I'd just be Spider-Man. I know it's boring,
I mean,
but
look,
I'd be Spider-Man.
I
Yeah,
think
honestly, that
I
would
think
be
I speak
fun.
for the whole group when I say I don't think that counts.
It counts.
If you're thinking of like
Frogman, fine.
your genes
Okay,
being
I'm good with that.
The Frogman lives. Okay, he's back. And I am the Frogman.
But what would you jump? Would you jump 50?
I am the Frogman. What?
Would you jump 50?
Of course.
Okay.
Look at
I
me.
just wondering.
Look at me.
The Frogman still
Yeah.
jumps 50.
I think since Dane is smaller than the previous frogman discussed, he could probably jump 55 to 60.
Thank you.
That's so nice.
Thank you.
You seem more aerodynamic.
I am. You should watch me soar into Marcus's topic.
Oh,
How about that?
that was,
Do you guys like
beautiful.
that? Is that good? Thanks.
Pretty good.
Thank you, bud.
Well, I said a dragon, and we all know. Actually, Tiny, you told me,
Yep.
Austin told me that you, Tiny, had seen only one episode of Game of Thrones, and it was this one that I'm about to talk about.
I've seen the entirety of the first episode.
Oh, so it was the wrong episode.
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't really matter.
Ready
It really doesn't. I was just actually
You've
going to
had
try to
everything
get
spoiled
an
anyway.
outside perspective
Pretty much.
of somebody who had maybe just seen a little bit of it and just like a more casual fan's perspective of what happened with Daenerys at the end of Game of Thrones.
Well, I think with me and Austin not reading the books, I would consider us more casual Game of Thrones fans because
Right.
of how limited the show is compared to what the books offer.
Yeah.
So, would you consider that more of a?
Well, I mean, I don't know any
Casual,
more than
then.
I don't know any more than you
Oh,
do
that's
about
right, because the books aren't caught up with.
Yeah,
that
the books aren't
portion
out.
I mean,
of
I've
it.
read half the first book.
it.
helps.
Really, all I was trying to do is try to get somebody to kind of just summarize like Daenerys's what happened to her at the end of that story. She was this young girl. Her father was crazy. Abusive, and her brother ended up being crazy and abusive, and so she kind of had to deal with all that. She was married off to some Dothraki guy who ended up falling in love with, and then
While
she
she
starts
was
to rise in
13.
power, right? And then she has these dragon eggs that she was given to, and somehow through some weird, freaky magic ritual, she bound herself to these like fossilized dragon eggs, became actual dragon eggs, and she birthed 3 dragons, and they were basically her children. She loved them. She ended slavery in like a whole nother continent. I don't know. I mean, most people kind of know the story, but just at the end, how they just did this heel face turn and just made her like literally the villain of the last few episodes of the last 2 episodes. And so really, I just wanted somebody's perspective on how that went down, just because I have been watching this guy on YouTube. His name's The Dragon Demands. He's like his channel is kind of like completely dedicated to just trashing D&D, the guys that wrote, most of this stuff, and he does some like pretty intense research, like behind the scenes kind of research. I mean, he gets copies of like the scripts and have gone over them, and he is wanting to say that was not the original ending for her character, that they wrote that really, really late in the game, actually even changed some things to make that new ending, to make her like way worse off than she was.
Did they feel like she just wasn't a big enough quote unquote enemy by the end of it? Like, I don't know, because
I don't know what they were
at
thinking.
that point they've already, like, they're done with the Night King, and that whole thing's over with. Like, it kind of didn't go anywhere. I mean, there was a lot of destruction up until the point of the ending of the Night King and his reign. But once he was gone, I feel like they were like, okay, the big bad is gone, and now we just kind of have these like government agencies that are, like Cersei and things like that, they're evil in their own way, but nothing compared to what the Night King brings. And they're like, well, we got this girl with dragons, let's turn her into this just burning down the city lady, when the rest of the entire story has been about her setting free those that aren't guilty.
In my best guess would be that they just went with like a fan theory, like some kind of a crackpot fan theory or something like that. Like a fan fiction kind of. I mean, 'cause it's not really their fault. They had to end it, but I really disagree. A lot of people disagreed with that. I mean, just think about how many people looked up to her. Anyway, I'm not really trying to make it about how much I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I was really just trying to frame the conversation because this guy on YouTube,
from what I heard,
Yeah.
They asked George R.R. Martin, like, what are we supposed to do with the ending? And he said, here's what's supposed to happen. How you get there is how you get there. That may or may not be how it happens in the book, but A, B, and C is what is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So it might be part of that.
I imagine he gave
part
him
of the
bullet
problem.
points.
Yeah.
Right.
They would need another at least season or season and a half to establish the fact of how she's going to change now. Like, that needed to happen. That's something with the lines of a gradual, slow progression and her, like a struggle of that. I mean, maybe not that long, but something. Not 4 episodes, and then all of a sudden she's the big baddie.
Right, yeah. I mean, because it's established she was. I think we've talked about just briefly on the podcast before, but it showed that she was ruthless, but never like mass murderous,
Genocide.
Yeah, but and maybe it's just me wishful thinking, hoping that the books are going to come out and it not be quite that bad.
Yeah.
But this guy's trying to point to this, like these 3 points of evidence. Basically, is what I'm wanting to talk about. That Emilia Clarke did not know, like the extent of the destruction that her character caused, even while filming it, because she filmed it all on a green screen.
Green screen, yeah.
Every bit of it was on green screen.
Yeah.
The script was also suspiciously vague when it came to stuff like this, and there are connections with some sort of wildfire explosion that they originally filmed it for, and there's even like concept art, like official concept art of that last battle with the whole city in green flames.
Right.
Because her father, which we mentioned, the abusive father, had stashed a network of wildfire throughout the city in case he needed to blow out the entire city one day.
And in earlier season, like we saw that used.
We saw Cersei
like,
do
Cersei
that,
did
a
it.
little bit of it, though.
Yeah.
That was only just one little
Right.
thing. And we saw how explosive and devastating that was.
Oh, yeah.
And in that episode, where Daenerys is literally, like, strafing every single street back and forth, like, it was horrifying watching it.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrific. It really is, because it's taken this character that you've grown to love, and you've seen her struggle. You know that she's got some screwed up stuff happening, in her brain, but you just hope that she's the Targaryen that is able to slip the crazy noose.
Yeah.
But it'd be fine if she didn't slip the crazy noose. I get it. She had a 50-50 shot. But
Yeah, well, that's what they said. The gods flip a coin when a Targaryen is born, or something like that.
Exactly. But it's just, why didn't they just elongate it? That's all it needed.
Part of the evidence that Emilia Clarke did not know the extent that they were going with her character is what you just said. She said about it when she's talking about this scene, because the way she's talking about it, it seems a lot like when she heard the bells and seen that she had won the war. She looks up to the Red Keep and she's just rage overfills her or whatever, and then she has to go kill her. That's what Emilio's words were. I need to go kill her. And like the way she talks about it does not make it seem like she understood it. And these are like on the Blu-ray extras and stuff. And also there are some of the commentaries with her and the writers where they like keep cutting her off. Like she's trying to like, justify her character. It seems like you can tell that she's like trying to come to terms with the character she's been playing for almost 10 years.
Oh yeah, she put years of her life into this
Right.
thing, and for it to end like that and everyone be so upset about it. And I know, like Austin, you mentioned like we wanted her to not be this, but that doesn't always make for a bad story when something that you don't want to happen happens.
No.
Exactly. That's
Right.
why I said,
No.
even though that's
It's-
not what I wanted to happen, you needed to draw out that transformation to show a transformation. Like, is it beyond her character's scope to annihilate masses of people? No, she
I
did it in
think
the
so.
past.
I think in
The amount of innocence,
the images that we saw on the show to me were absolutely not not in that quickly.
the
You'd have
amount
to
of-
show that she's actually crazy.
Yeah, that's
we've
the
never
thing.
seen her be crazy.
Like the amount of innocence that she destroyed during all of that didn't fit the character mold at all for what she had. It was a complete offshoot of that in a more extreme angle that has nothing to do with who she was currently before
Right.
that situation.
Right.
The bells ring. I'm gonna kill everybody.
Right.
Bells. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so like basically the script, because they submit these things to like Emmys and things for people to review, and for history's purposes, so there are copies of these scripts that are like preserved.
Yeah.
And so the script for this episode, is with Cersei. She's looking out her window. They did a couple episodes before this establish this idea of human shields. So like Cersei is like bringing people into the Red Keep just so if Daenerys attacks the Red Keep, she's going to look like someone who's okay with mass murder. So it does kind of set up the idea of human shields. And, as far as the way Emilia Clarke is talking in the commentaries and in her little interviews from the inside the episodes, that they would play after one of them called The Mad Queen that HBO completely tried to hide after the fact of the show, did not want this released at all, titled The Mad Queen. And she is saying these things like, she even says, she went so far as to say that she was not aware when she's filming the scene in the throne room with Kit Harington and he's acting so devastated. She said even at that moment she was not aware
Of what she had just
of
done.
why he was so upset.
Yeah.
Why is your character having so much trouble with my character right now? Like, because she
that's
had
gotta be weird.
Right. And if you read the script, because there's like little sections of it you can actually read. And you try to put yourself in her head without having seen those visuals, because she was actually told not to look at the storyboards and not to look at any pre-visualizations of it. And if you read the script, it's vague. It's just vague enough to make it seem like, yes, there are these human shields. Yes, she does attack the Red Keep, even though they're human shields, and she's getting civilians and Lannister soldiers in the same swoops. But it's just vague enough to like keep it kind of secret that because they were showing like women holding babies and stuff, and then just
Yeah.
getting exploded out of nowhere.
And she could have avoided the entirety of the city and went straight for the Red Keep.
Exactly, and
that's
that's
what
one
she
of the
thought she did,
biggest
isn't it?
things that goes against what the writers have to say about it. So it's like that's one thing. There's two different stories. There's the writers and what they say about it, and then there's the actress who played it, who was told not to look at the visuals. And the script was just vague enough to seem like, yeah, that's that ruthless Targaryenness, and it was a controversial move. But this is war. It was definitely morally gray. But it's
But
still
her
not.
roasting the entire streets. That's
Strafing back and forth. The Red Keep's
Yeah.
way over here,
Yeah.
honey.
There's-
You're way.
It makes no sense.
There's
It
no
makes no
grayness.
sense at
There's
all.
no moral gray area
And
there.
so that's what the script mentions: Cersei standing outside her window
yeah.
and green flames exploding throughout the city, so that maybe Daenerys, as she's attacking the army,
Right.
not innocents,
It was a trap set
triggers
to make it
the
look
wildfire,
like that.
and that literally there's concept art of green explosions, but they just painted it all orange
that
and
makes
just made
me
her.
want to cry.
They turned her at the last minute. Like so at some point during season 7, they were writing season 8, and they get ready to start filming season 8, and then at some point, no, we got to make her just destroy King's Landing.
I really think that it's because they didn't feel like they had a quote-unquote badass enough villain in that moment. Like,
I don't know. I mean, I think they loved Lena Headey as Cersei. I think they loved her.
Oh, she was great.
Yeah.
But she didn't have like that, I don't know. She was just like sneaky evil, you know? She did like sly things like behind people's backs and behind the curtain.
Yeah. She was a schemer.
Manipulator, yeah. A schemer and things like, and that's not exciting for well, I mean, and I just go back to what they said about what they wanted to do with Star Wars whenever they were given the rights to make it and then stripped away after their bomb of an 8th season of Game of Thrones. But how they wanted to make things more for more people to enjoy it instead of just people who are fans of this genre. What football players and moms was, I think, was
Yes.
it? I don't know if that. I just heard that. I never saw.
I think
quote.
I told you that on the podcast.
Yeah. And I'd heard about it before, but I didn't know if it was a quote.
Yeah,
or-
it's a quote.
It's an actual
and
quote.
A lot of
theirs.
people made fun of him for this quote too. A
Okay,
lot of people.
good, because
Yeah.
that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like there are tons of football players and moms who love Star Wars, but
And I hate to be that, because I'm sure they're feeling a lot of pressure, from in their careers based on that. But this was their big break. I mean, they had never done TV before.
No.
And they ended up just having the biggest show of all time.
Yeah.
So, I can only be so easy on them.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty clear that.
And what you were saying too earlier about the actress not even knowing why why Kit was like his name Kit or
Kit Harington.
Kit
yeah.
Harington.
Jon Snow,
Kit
yeah.
Harington, yeah. Like Amelia didn't know why Kit's character was so upset, and to me, that disconnect was definitely in that scene. I absolutely hated her death scene. It was the most anticlimactic, like not even good dialogue, like not even a good character sense. The actors,
She was a different character completely.
Yeah, the actor and actress were there, but the characters were not.
Yeah.
no.
I feel like that a lot of the people who really, really love Game of Thrones thought that a lot of that in the last 2 seasons, especially, for sure. Like the characters were gone. These and that's another thing. Like, go check out The Dragon Demands if y'all want more of this, like mad Game of Thrones fan. Like, I mean, he does a lot of good research. All of this was his stuff, his ideas. He, like I said, he's dedicated to going out and finding all these details about that. But what was it you just said? Because he has a video about that too.
About what?
The characters being gone. Okay, and
like
that's
the-
because
like that,
they have
yeah.
they've been known to say that they actually write based on the characters or the actors' strengths. So they will write the characters' parts based on, we really like Arya or Maisie Williams,
Yeah.
So we're gonna write for Maisie, not Arya.
Yeah.
Like, your job is to write for the character.
Yeah, you hired the
You're
actress
a screenwriter.
Yeah.
and you hired the actress to play that character, not to play the actress.
You don't write for the actor.
I
You
love
write
screenwriting.
unless you're just gonna
Unless you have them in mind before you
But these
even
are
start this whole
established
thing.
characters
Yeah,
from
exactly.
from an established work.
Right.
So it's just they've been caught saying a lot of things. If you're interested, The Dragon Demands.
The Dragon
'Cause
Demands.
He will rip them up probably from now until he's gone.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I feel like the same writers are the ones that wrote The Dark Tower based on what you're saying.
I don't think they've done it. I think the reason they rushed through the last of Game of Thrones was to get onto other things. So I don't think they've really written anything besides Game of
would
Thrones.
you
I was just kind of making a
I
correlation.
think they've maybe
on
written
bad
some
writing.
novels. Yeah.
I don't understand how you take the biggest TV series of all time, just of all time, Game of Thrones
Of all
was,
time.
of all time, and you don't put enough heart into it to make something of quality when you have so much quality already there and direct communication with the man that's writing this whole story, like in his books. You have direct communication with him to where you can run everything by him and go, does this make sense for the story for these characters? And if he says yes, and you do it, and everyone's pissed, that's his fault. Like, that's George's fault. And you can
And
completely...
it's also his fault
throw
for
it
not
back
having
on
the
him.
books done too.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just my opinion.
He had plenty of
I love
time.
George though. I love George.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of rabbit holes I'll find myself in sometimes. If anybody was ever curious, that's like my idea of a conspiracy theory: is Dan and Dave changed it at the last minute. Dadgummit, they ruined my Khaleesi.
What'd you say
Not my, not my
I
Khaleesi.
hope it wasn't my Khaleesi.
what'd you say that YouTuber's name was again?
The Dragon Demands.
The Dragon Demands.
Yes.
Cool. Credit where credit is due.
Oh my gosh, he's great.
You know what else is great? Pinball. I don't know. It's way off from what you were talking about, but I just want to
That's
talk
what
about.
we do on this show.
That is true.
For random topics, y'all. Don't expect any cohesion.
It's so random. We don't even say random before.
I feel like they all tied together quite beautifully so far.
Until me. Pinball. Let me just pin this off you guys real quick.
Hey,
What?
there is a connection.
Don't.
There is, because Game of Thrones is just a bunch of knocking balls most of the time.
I thought you was going to say pleasing sounds to induce a response.
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
There's a place in Chattanooga, and it's called like the Pinball Museum, and you can go there and get a pass for all day, and they have pinball machines from all throughout the ages, like from like current made in the past few years all the way back into like the 70s, and it's awesome. Like to go in there and spend the entire day playing pinball. I mean, you can't do it right now because it's kind of, hands-on things with small spaces and groups of people. But whenever things get back to not being this way, I really suggest going to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and going to this place or finding another cool pinball place. But anyway, I want to talk about kind of the history of pinball and things like that and just run through that with you real quick because I'm sure you've played it before, but you might not know where it comes from. The ancestors of pinball are actually bocce ball and croquet. Like because the idea of using balls to get through small obstacles or near other obstacles and bouncing them off other obstacles like goes all the way back to that in yard games. And also things like billiards, bowling, and shuffleboard too, because they wanted to take these things like croquet and bocce ball and bring them indoors. So that's where we got those other games that you commonly see in like bars and things like that, which is also where you find pinball machines sometimes too. In France, in the mid late 1860s,
Smack that mouth.
Yes, so good. I'm not even going to take that one out. In France, in the
He's close.
Why can't I do this? In France, in the mid-late 1600s, billiards tables, they narrowed and the pegs were placed as obstacles. Like there were pegs placed on the board because I guess they were getting bored of playing billiards.
I've seen pool tables like that. They have those little those little bumpers in the middle.
Yeah.
There's like different games.
It's called bagatelle or bagatelle. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's bagatelle.
Yeah.
And in the late 1700s, the table was tilted and a coiled spring and a plunger was put at the bottom. So it shot the balls up into holes for points. So instead of you being on a flat table, like a flat billiards table that's been made thinner, and actually hitting the ball with a cue to try to get through these pegs to get to the holes on the other end, they took out the cue altogether and made it tilted with a spring and a little plunger at the bottom.
Just use
How do
gravity,
you, how do
baby.
you hit a ball with a letter?
I'm sorry?
How do you hit a ball with a letter?
I'm sorry?
How do you hit a ball with a letter?
That is a cue joke, and I thank you for it. And
It's about time you participated.
In 1871, British inventor Montague Redgrave, he improved that spring, and he made it smaller. Like he made the board to like fit on a bar top, like so he shrunk it down, like way down, and the ball was replaced with marbles, and the wooden pegs that were on the board were turned to metal. So it slowly became like more of a pinball machine that we are familiar with.
That guy's name.
Kind of. What is it?
Montague Redgrave?
Oh, yeah.
That's
he
so
is
awesome.
one
Isn't
of
that good?
Sherlock's arch nemesis.
I was just going to say, like, he has to be a character in something.
It has to be.
My dear Watson.
In the 30s, they became coin operated because they were like, hey, we could probably make some money off this stupid little thing. And that actually led to gambling as well later on. But I'll get into that because that gets kind of fun. And they also put the board under glass and used the spring-loaded plunger. Like it was before, it was a weaker spring and it was a little bit different than this, but they improved it. But it still had no paddles yet. So in the 30s, we still didn't have the machines that we're familiar with to be able to actually control the ball more than just, okay, how hard do I pull the spring back, which is still part of the game. like because depending on how hard you pull it back is how hard it's going to enter the table. In 31, David Gottlieb. If you know anything about pinball, Gottlieb is like the biggest name in pinball ever. Between him and Bali, like those are the two big ones. Gottlieb created Baffle Ball, which was a pin game, and it was the first hit of coin-operated games, like of these pin games. They didn't call it pinball yet, but it sold for $17.50, like the game itself sold for that, which I think I looked it up. It was a little under $300 for the table now, which would be stupid cheap for a pinball table because it costs like over $1,000 to be able to get a pinball machine now, and to work on them is insane because the mechanics in it are very delicate, and you've got to get someone that really knows what they're doing to work on it too. So it's you're going to be spending some money if you get a pinball machine, but I still want one anyway. And for 1 penny, you got like 5 to 7 balls. And it was cheap entertainment during the Great Depression. So, like, people were like getting into pinball like this, and that made it soar and got really, really popular because it was one of the few ways of them being able to entertain themselves during the worst time of their lives possible. Baffle Ball sold over 50,000 units, and Gottlieb became the first major pinball manufacturer, like ever, of all time, and is still a big name in it now because they've got like digital versions of pinball that are named after Gottlieb, like it's Gottlieb Pinball and a bunch of different ways to play it digitally. In 1932, Gottlieb distributor Raymond Maloney, he couldn't meet demand. No, none at all. Baloney? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we have the same first names, but no relation.
I forget.
I thought there for a second. Might be a
I thought
cousin.
you were talking about another Raymond.
So this dude was their distributor, but he couldn't make enough of the tables like to get them out of this exact one. Like he just could not make enough of them. He didn't like get enough parts, enough pieces to do it because they were selling so many of them. So he made his own company out of things he could acquire, and he named it Bali. And the game was called Ballyhoo. So Ballyhoo actually was a success, and it sold 50,000 units in just 7 months. So that's a lot of pinball tables in a short amount of time. But I don't know. I'm guessing he probably took some ideas from the Gottlieb stuff and implemented into his own, which I think was probably a sketchy situation, but I didn't look into any kind of like legal things that went on there. In 33, electronic parts were introduced to it. You got lights. There's a bonus hole. Go ahead, Austin. Laugh. That's for you. Go ahead. There you go, buddy. love a good bonus hole, and
You
the
can't
ball.
put me in a box.
No,
You can't put me in a box.
Or a bonus hole.
That's funny.
and
I'm pretty sure we can find a big enough box to put you in.
oh no, that's a threat.
What's that?
It was the promise of a good time. I will ASMR the crap out of you when you're in that box.
Oh no, we got to get through this pinball so we can get in this box. They added bells to the machine too to quote unquote reward the player, which actually does work. I mean, when you hear certain sounds when playing a game, you just get that little endorphin rush to it. So it works. They knew what they were doing. In 1932, there were 150 companies making pinball machines, and by 1934, just 2 years later, only 14 remained. So either they were bought out by one another, or the competition was so steep, like they just couldn't keep up. So from 150 to 14 in 2 year span, which is insane. In 1947, Gottlieb introduced flippers for the first time. So the freaking tables that we know, like that we are familiar with, are from the late 1800s, and we didn't get flippers until 47, like 1947. That's
so you
crazy.
just shot the ball.
That's
and
crazy.
Just watched it.
You just shot the ball. Like there was no
That's like lame, dude. You got to have the flippers.
Well, there was no skill factor in it. It
No,
was
no,
just
it's
you
just
just
random.
shot up there and let it go, which is why like a lot of people were using it like for gambling because it was pure chance, like
Wow.
what was going to happen. So they ended up making a lot of money off of you because I mean they could rig the spring to where it's just not going to hit it quite hard enough to be able to get to the bonus hole.
Sounds like
Or the bell.
carnival game.
Yeah, exactly. That's more or less
bells.
what it was.
That's the connection.
The bells.
Sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. No, you're fine.
She'll burn the
and-
city down.
She'll burn it down. In the 1970s, we get the pinball machines we're most accustomed to, with the glass top, metal frames. lights, scores, flippers, all the stuff. So from the late 1800s, it took them all the way up to the 1970s to actually have what we are familiar with. And in the late 80s, video games were killing off pinball, which makes sense because everybody was able to have all these things in their home, and then arcade machines also. If you put a kid in a room and say, okay, here is a machine to where you can hit a button and these flippers shoot a ball into holes, or you can jump around and shoot things and hop on top of little, what are Goombas? I don't know. They look like mushrooms, but they're not mushrooms.
Hop on top.
What's a Goomba?
It's a mushroom.
Is a Goomba a mushroom?
No, the Goombas are
They're the little brown looking mushrooms.
Yeah, they're mushrooms. It's
Are
the mushroom.
they?
It's the mushroom kingdom.
Right. Okay.
Don't be
Duh.
ignorant.
Well, I'm just okay. Anyway, so video games were gonna kill off pinball. Like it was.
So that's why they like slapped Star Wars and stuff onto them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Because
Kiss was on
Kiss.
top.
Oh,
Kiss.
gosh, I
Oh, plenty of
love-
Kiss. The Addams Family was actually the highest grossing selling pinball machine ever, which is strange because that
That is
doesn't
very
seem.
weird.
Yeah, that doesn't seem. But it was actually a good game. Like, and
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, and
just
they started
accidentally made the
developing.
best pinball board.
Oh, yeah. Well,
It was a multi-tiered one too.
Yes.
I love multi-tiered pinball.
Well, that's something people don't realize about pinball as well, is they can have like story missions in pinball to where you have to do certain things in certain orders in the game, and the table itself can introduce like new aspects like for you to interact with as you're playing this game, as you're getting these higher scores and hitting certain obstacles. Like the game can be like as in depth as a short video game, honestly, but it takes a whole lot more skill and a lot of luck to be able to get through it. So it's pretty cool. But there was also the video game crash of 1983. There were too many companies making too many games, and they couldn't meet demand. And PCs, like home personal computers, were starting to get big, so people stopped like really getting on the video game train. But that didn't last very long. But while video game sales were down, pinball started to shoot back up. But then video games started to work their way back up again, and pinball started to go down again. So it was a back and forth situation, and I think it always will be, because we get this craving for analog after we've had digital for so long. That's why we're seeing in the past few years like vinyl sales, like vinyl records sales are going up again, because people are getting bored with MP3s. Like I know it's super easy and Spotify is really easy, but people want something tactile. They want to feel something and listen to it, and some nostalgia factors, even where vinyls weren't really popular when we were kids, but we still have this nostalgic factor to it because it's something that's so loved from before our time. So I know I left my collection of them, and it's fine.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, it's great sometimes to be able to step away from the screen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I am very thankful that Al Gore invented the internet to allow us to learn information and play games and share things back and forth and cat videos. But it's so nice to just disconnect and do something just totally different.
Just whack balls around with
Just
a
whack
paddle.
balls around.
Heaven forbid
like a heathen.
I am away from my cellular device for more than a few hours a day, because there will be 14 missed calls. People will think something's wrong. Why aren't you answering your phone? All I want to do is just be in a room
With a pinball machine.
with a pinball machine. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, Frankenstein's a good one. Haunted House is another really, really good one. There's so many that when I went to the pinball museum, I was there, like Carly and I went for, I don't know, we were there for 6 hours, and we still, like when we left, we weren't done. Like we wanted to keep playing. Like it's crazy, this like addiction that you get whenever you're in there playing it, because there'll be some runs to where you like just run straight through all the balls and you don't get hardly anything. And then there are others, there are others that your score keeps climbing, and you get to this point like, man, I feel like I can beat that, but there's so much luck involved with it too that it's hard. The last and most interesting thing about pinball, which I should have just made the whole segment about, because I don't know how many of you actually wanted a history lesson, but pinball was banned and made illegal in New York from the 1940s to 1976. You could not own a pinball machine in New York from that time.
Why?
Because the mayor at that time, like early on, Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, He said that it was robbing kids of hard-earned nickels. And he, along with the police, went around destroying them with sledgehammers and throwing the parts into the river. Like,
Sounds like a real D-bag.
yeah, a super D-bag.
He's not nice.
Imagine hating pinball so much that you make it illegal and you get the police to help you destroy it.
I don't hate anything that much.
No.
I mean, it just kind of sounds like the government.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds like, happens all the time.
Sounds like he was a real mask full of vomit.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. But we do have a savior for pinball. Oh no, you got him. It's his own fault. If he didn't share the story, we wouldn't be attacking him with it.
I know, and I love it.
I
usually just make women
lost
gag.
it just then.
Yeah, I was close.
Wow.
We drove by the parking lot, and Trudy looked to see if it was still there. Engage the tea kettle.
Y'all nasty. Do you want to know about the savior of pinball in New York, at least? His name was Roger Sharp, and he went to court arguing that the games were about skill and not about gambling at all. And he's like, no, it's a skill-based game. So he set up a pinball machine in court, and he played a couple games. And in one of those games, he said he bet like Babe Ruth calling a home run. He called a shot, like a very difficult thing to do on the board, and he hit it perfectly. And they decided, well, he's got a point. So then they decided to lift the ban on pinball machines, saying that it was a game of skill instead of luck. And later on, after he was interviewed about that whole thing, he said, oh, no, that was totally a lucky shot. He's like, I have no idea how I hit that. And that's just
It was
really
meant to
cool.
be.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
would
yeah,
have never
absolutely.
admitted
Pinball
to
gods just said it was
No,
going
yeah.
to happen.
He sure played a mean pinball.
I knew it was going to happen at some
No,
point.
Yeah,
I kept
I made
looking
the
at
notes
him.
of that. And that song was actually made to make that album. The album was by The Who in 1969 called Tommy. I think the album was called Tommy. Is it Timmy?
Tommy Two.
Is it Timmy or Tommy?
Tommy Two Tone.
No,
Thomas.
hold on. I think it's
8, 6,
Tommy.
7,
Is it Timmy? The name of the
Thomas.
album is Tommy. I was right.
Told you.
In 1969 by The Who, they made the song Pinball Wizard to kind of cut up that whole album had like a spiritual overtone to it, and they wanted something that was just completely off from all of that and kind of set aside. And it's literally just a song about a blind, mute, deaf kid who becomes the greatest pinball player of all time, in the world. And that's there's nothing else deeper to it. If you look at the lyrics, that's just all it's about. It's this kid becoming the greatest. And it's a great song, but I didn't realize that it was put in there for the intention of breaking up what the rest of the album is about. But anyway, so now pinball comes from bocce ball and was illegal at one point. It's dumb.
I want to see that. I just would love to see that guy go in there and show him.
I think it needs to be an epic movie that
does.
ends in that court
sounds
battle.
like
That would be a great.
Yeah.
What's it? 2 Weeks in Hell. With
Yes.
Andy. Oh, it would be a movie with Kit.
Oh yeah,
He
Kit
was in there.
Harington's in there.
Yeah, him and Andy Samberg are in a
Picard?
tennis match against each other.
Yeah.
So we could do that.
Who's actively tapping on the?
It was probably me.
Somebody was actively tapping on the table, and I'm here
on the table? No, that wasn't me.
My knee hit it.
I don't know.
Could have been a ghost.
That's good. That's it. That's all. That's all there is. This one, that's it.
See ya.
Not yet.
Okay.
Everybody's got to go to Twitter. They got to go to @NerdGrapevine. They got to go there. They got to go to Instagram, which is the same thing. And keep listening to us on Spotify and iTunes. And go listen to Austin Shazam Pfeiffer on Haunter, I Barely Know Her, episode 20. Listen to him tell some super fun stories. Fun if you're into spooky, terrifying, make you want to poop your pants.
As long as you don't puke your mask.
We got to stop.
I'm good now.
You gotta
I'm
stop, we
immune.
got to stop puking the mask. Austin, when life gives you grapes,
You put them in your mouth and you gently squish them.
and how would that sound? And once again, I got to go.